The moment we have all been waiting for. Where does JavaScript fit in? Whether or not you are a JavaScript programmer, most web pages have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that's why we need to understand how JavaScript fits into the whole critical rendering path process. We know that JavaScript can modify the style and the content of a page. And of course, the style relates to the CSS OM. The content relates to that's right, the DOM. Let's look at a simple case first. I don't want to jump into complicated JavaScript just yet. I want us to just take a step back. Let's create a very simple HTML page. We've got a head section and we've got a body section. That's it. And the body section just contains hello world. So a very simple page, nothing too fancy. We know that the bytes have to be converted to characters, to tokens, to nodes, and the DOM is constructed. We know that. And we also know when the browser hits this link tag and it references that style.css file, that a request is made to fetch the style.css. And the CSS OM process can begin. And this is important that I want to drive home. Both the CSS OM and the DOM happen asynchronously. And it's logical, right? Doesn't that make sense? Both the DOM and the CSS OM are being created, but one doesn't have to wait for the other. Remember, we've always been saying throughout this whole time that these two structures are completely independent. So that's the starting point. Wrap your head around that. And now let's look at JavaScript. We've got our DOM and we've got our JavaScript JS file. And this JavaScript file does nothing initially, right? We know this. So if we look at our HTML example here, your parser is going to go through line by line. It's going to pass doc type HTML. It's going to then pass the UTF-8 encoding type, converting those bytes into characters. It's going to continue to pass line by line. It makes sense. When your parser then hits that link to your styles.css file, the CSS OM process is going to begin. Makes sense. But then the DOM is going to continue going. It's going to then hit the script tag. Boom. And what's going to happen now? Well, now the DOM is going to be paused. That means there's no more parsing. It means there is no more DOM construction. It's paused. It's put on hold. Your parser, your JavaScript engine, is then going to interpret that JS file. In our case, it's going to be executed. Alert high is going to be shown to the screen, and only then can the DOM construction continue. Parser will then go through each line and parse the document. And the bytes will be converted to characters, to tokens, to nodes, and the DOM will finally be rendered. So, as I'm sure you can already tell, JavaScript is render blocking. And it makes sense. It blocks the rendering of the DOM. Because in many instances, our JavaScript can actually alter the DOM, and it can even alter the CSS OM. But more on how JavaScript affects the CSS OM next.